guys, welcome back to the channel. We are Rob and Allie, and today we're sharing with you how we retired on $300,000.
Yeah, we kind of got a late start on our retirement because of some of the jobs we had. We worked in some nonprofits, and we were pretty dismayed when we got into our mid-30s and we started looking at all the advice out there, the financial planners, and they're all like, you got to have $3 million, you got to have $5 million, at the minimum you got to have $1 million. And looking at it, we're thinking, there is no way that we're ever going to get to $1 million based on what we have, what we're bringing in, and what we're spending. So we knew we had to make a change.
That's right. It was kind of overwhelming at first when we started looking at all the numbers and, just who are we going to take advice from as to how much we actually needed in order to be able to retire. And we just kind of started thinking maybe we should make our own numbers.
Yeah. So the numbers that the financial advisors give you are very inflated. And they're inflated for a lot of reasons. First of all, they don't want you to run out of money because it's going to look bad. So they overestimate how much you're actually going to need. The second reason they're overinflated is they're assuming in all these projections that you're only going to stay in the same place you were. You're going to live the same lifestyle. You're going to have 2 houses, 3 cars, 2 boats, and be paying for all this crazy stuff. And it's simply not necessary or prudent for most people to do that in retirement because you have to work a lot longer to save up enough money to live that kind of lifestyle, and it's just not worth it.
Exactly. I think that's the most challenging part to get out of as far like mentally is to realize that I don't have to stay in this one place. So the numbers don't have to stay with just I'm living this same exact lifestyle with all the same exact stuff. The numbers change drastically when you start pulling out some of those things or all of those things. You got a really different financial picture then.
Yeah, so you can get around this mentality by doing several things. By retiring abroad, by traveling full-time, that's what we do, or by just living below your means. So give you kind of an idea of what we did. We have a whole video on our retirement story, but this is just the synopsis here. That we had roughly $250,000 of equity in our house when we did this. We then had $50,000 of investments in the stock market. So we really were only able to invest about $50,000 worth while we were, working those years because we didn't have any employer matching at any time, just what we could put in. Then we did also have an online income of about $4,000 per month. So that gave us really $300,000 in cash. Then we took the next drastic step was to sell everything we had. We sold our cars, sold all our possessions, our computers. I think we had a laptop with us, but we sold all our furniture with the house, and that netted us about another $25,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really gave us a good little pile of cash there to kind of send us off. Well, for all of those initial type costs, getting some things set up for moving or spending a large portion of our time overseas.
So for $300,000, for about every $300,000 you have invested, you can earn roughly $1,000 a month in basically dividend income or just income you can take out of the stock market. So that's what we did. We invested all of our money. We had that, and we paired it with the $4,000 of online income we were already making. That gave us $5,000 a month. And so then we just kind of said, well, we can live on 4 and be fine. But I know what you're thinking, that if you only have the $300,000, how does that apply to you? It can still be done very easily, and that's what gave us the courage to do this, is because through our travels, we realized that you could easily live in several places for only $1,000 a month.
Exactly. There are, especially now, we knew that before because we had traveled abroad quite a bit before we retired. And then we've learned even more since retiring of just so many places that you can go and stay. You can get extended visas and you can stay for a very small budget.
Yeah, we were just in Jomtien, Thailand, and the prices there are incredible. Now our budget was a little bit higher because since we did make this move, we have earned quite a bit more money. But rent starts there at about $177 a month for an apartment, which is kind of mind blowing for anybody in the U.S. to think about, I think.
Yeah, well, and people are thinking, okay, well, that's just going to be like a hut or something. That's not going to be like a nice place. How can it be? This is like in a resort type condo building with pools and all those types of things. So this isn't like just a, hole in the wall place for 177, or what is it, $177 a month.
Yeah.
You can live in very comfortably, really, in a nice place, in a nice community.
Yeah, and this was key for us because most of the condos in this type of situation come furnished. As you know, we sold all of our furniture and everything, all our possessions, so we really need things that are furnished, because that's what gave us that extra $25,000 to be able to invest. And so that's what these kind of come with. So there's places all over the world where you can do this, and I think we have some videos on the channel where we talk about cheap countries, cheap cities that you can live in. People don't want you to know how inexpensive the rest of the world is, because $177 in rent, then you start talking about the food. You can basically be eating your meals for $3, $4, $5 a meal. You're easily coming in at under $1,000 a month.
Yeah, and to think that $177 a month, that's renting a place on Airbnb. That's going to include like your utilities.
It is.
You'll get, your internet and water and trash and electricity and all that kind of stuff included. So when you start thinking about the fact that you pull those utilities out of the monthly, that's all included in that 177. It's kind of mind-blowing, really.
Yeah, so the strategy for us was we knew we could do that. And then I think the strategy for a lot of other people that do this on $300,000 is they go live there for a year, 2 years, 3 years. There's a lot of different places you can move around to even and do that. But once you're there, you're going to be free because you're free of your job. You have all the free time in the world. And if you want to sort of ramp yourself up and get to a $2,000 a month budget, you can spend some of your time working either as like an English teacher or an online job or part-time job, even consulting from your past job, and all the money that you make goes back into your nest egg. So what we've learned over the years is that by leaving the rat race, by retiring early and reducing your expenses, you can add to your nest egg a lot more than trying to work a high-paying job in America where you're basically spending everything you've made.
Right, and I think that's the challenge for people mentally making that jump. They're like, 300,000, I'm going to run out of money. I'm going to run out of money like really fast because you're thinking to yourself, I'm spending like that you're going to be spending the same amount that you are now, but that's not the case. There's lots of options to spend way less, so you don't have to, you can spread that money out for a lot longer because you don't have to really dip into it. And especially if you start doing, consulting jobs or teaching jobs or start a YouTube or different things like that, you can extend that way farther, which is what happened to us.
Yeah, there's actually ways to even make that $177 zero, which is, a lot of people in our friend group that do house sitting, and that's a way where you can basically stay for free. They just go from house sit to house sit, travel the world, and they stay for free. They eat cheaply, and it's pretty good for them. We've never done that because it's just not our thing, but there are ways that you can mitigate, and there's a lot of fallback plans. But I think the best thing to do is to get into that lifestyle, start to build up maybe a little bit more income if you want it. If you're fine with that income, then that's fine. But if you want to build it up, you definitely have the time to do that, which you don't have if you're working a job and just doing it. So our portfolio, we invested the whole $300,000. It went up right away, and then it came, of course, down in 2020, and it didn't really affect us. We weren't really stressed about it because we were invested in pretty safe companies, and that's a key. I think you want to be invested in safe companies where you know you're going to get that dividend, and you're taking a lot of the stress out of that situation.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, just kind of knowing that you can go sit, in places for not that much, inexpensive places, and you can always also just like buy a house in like an affordable place too.
You can buy houses very cheaply in places like Italy and different places where they're just houses are selling for not very much. Now you're not going to be in the center of Rome, but there is always a way to make it work. And I think that's what a financial advisor will never tell you. They'll tell you there is no way to make that work. The truth is there is always a way to make it work if you're willing to make the proper compromise to make that work. And for most of us, for a lot of people, if they knew what those compromises were, would you rather at 50 work a job that you hate for the next 20 years and maybe be able to enjoy a few years after you are done working? Or would you rather go now and be able to do anything you want, have all the free time, be able to do all these things while you're healthy, possibly even live on the beach or in a nice resort complex, just in another country? And I think given that choice, a lot of people would take the second one.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you have to be able. I wouldn't even call them a compromise. I would call them more of like an adjustment rather than a compromise, because, like you said, it ends up not being a compromise like a bad thing. It ends up being just an adjustment that gets you something really good at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. We've built ours up now to the point where we could go back and live how we were before. Fine. But we're still living this way because we just like it more. And it's just a better way to live, and we just enjoy it. We're still living below our means. We've built up to now our budget is about $4,000 a month, and it's fine. We just do whatever we want. And it's such a great way to live that had we not taken the risk, I think, of where we would have been, the risk to do this, I think we would be in a much worse situation today.
Yeah, and I think the financial freedom from that is a great feeling, but more so than that is just having that margin with your life to be able to come and go and to go do the things that you want to do, to go explore, to have the experiences that you've always wanted to have before those experiences go away or before you're able to, even make it to those things.
So a lot of the content on this channel is surrounded around retirement and retiring on a budget, retiring on a budget of, $4,000. That's our budget. So you can move that up and down to, accommodate what you're looking at. But we're going to be giving a lot of content on that. If that's what you're interested in, hit the subscribe button and stay with us, because there's such an amazing life out there for people, and we want to let people know that they're missing out if they don't come do this with us.
Absolutely. Guys, if you have questions, leave those for us down in the comments, and we'll see you next time.